it on the correct link. We're going to get started right at 6:30. There was an issue with the first link that was sent out. So please check your emails from the 6 p.m. email that went out. There was also one that went out at 4 that had the correct link. So make sure you text your fellow Mustang parents if maybe they didn't get the right link. This is also going to be recorded. So if you are not able to watch the full thing or someone misses something, we are going to post this later on the Mountain House High website. So you will be able to access this full recording, including the presentation that will include all the links. All right, we're going to get started. My name is Mrs. Russo, Amanda Russo. I'm one of the counselors on campus. I also have Mrs. Islami and Mrs. Myers here monitoring the chat. We are going to have a time at the end for questions, though, so please try and hold on to those questions. There's going to be a Google form that's sent out, and we will take the time to answer as many questions as possible. Let's get started on our PowerPoint presentation. So this is the senior parent night, and Ms. Islami, Ms. Myers, everything looking good as far as PowerPoint goes, and can everybody hear me? It looks like someone said, thanks for your time. So I'm assuming everyone can see and hear me okay. We are going to get started with the PowerPoint. So this is the senior parent night. We are going to be focused primarily on applying to college just because that's happening here in the fall semester. But we are going to be talking about community college and additional career pathways as well. Seniors received a similar presentation last week on Thursday and Friday in their adulting class. So they've already gotten a majority of this information. This is for our senior parents. Our agenda for today, we're going to be...
Sorry. A lot of parents keep joining the restream. Mrs. Russo sent out a new YouTube link. Please use that YouTube link. Please do not use the restream link.
All right, guys. And that link was sent out at about 4 o'clock this afternoon, 3:45, and also at 6 p.m. So, yep, we had sent the wrong link out there, which took you into our restream. It's much easier if you guys are on the YouTube channel. We apologize for that confusion. Again, if you miss any piece of this, it's going to be posted, so you'll be able to see the full recording most likely tomorrow. All right, so our agenda for today, we're going to be reviewing what we talked about last spring as far as junior college planning goes. We're going to be looking at a community college overview. Then we're really going to be jumping into that four-year material, talking about creating a balanced list, four-year testing requirements, four-year eligibility requirements, college entrance essays, the different types of college applications, important deadlines, letters of recommendation, financial aid, Naviance, senior grades, and resources and guides. So a full agenda here today. So last year in the spring, we gave a presentation to all of our juniors. If they were planning on applying to colleges, we really encouraged them to start researching colleges over the summer. We asked them to have a list of about 10 to 20 schools they're interested in attending. And now they're going to start narrowing down that list and creating a final list of schools that they'll be applying to. If they were going to be applying to UC or private or out-of-state schools, hopefully they started to write those college entrance essays. And if they're interested in playing college-level athletics, hopefully they spoke to their counselor about that because students need to be NCAA eligible. These are a set of requirements above the A through G requirements, and they need to meet with their counselor in order to determine if they've met those. So if they have not already spoken to their counselor about this, this is something they need to email their counselor about immediately. First, we're going to talk about two-year community college. These applications don't open until January 1st, 2024. So students have plenty of time to research and look at the several community colleges in California that are available. A little bit about eligibility information. There's no minimum GPA needed in order to attend a community college. Your student just needs to focus on earning their community college, their high school diploma. So if they graduate from high school, they'll be able to attend any community college in California. That means they need to earn a D or above in their required courses. Students do not need to take the SAT or the ACT in order to apply to community college. So it's not something they have to worry about. And all math and English placement is going to be determined by the high school transcript. They no longer make them take a placement exam. Students who plan on attending community college should definitely plan on filling out the FAFSA or the California Dream Act. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. That application opens October 1st, 2023, and it's due by March 2nd of next year. The FAFSA is for students who are citizens of the United States. And the California Dream Act is for students who are undocumented. So they're similar applications. They offer similar opportunities. It's just depending on your status. For seniors in their adulting class this year, we will be bringing a financial aid representative to talk with students about the FAFSA and the California Dream Act. They will also have an opportunity to meet with someone one-on-one if they choose to get support with filling out this application. It is a California state law starting last year that every senior needs to fill out the FAFSA or California Dream Act, or they need to submit a waiver form. There are pathways within community college. Students can choose to take classes to earn an AA degree in Associates of Arts or an AS degree in Associates of Science. Or they can take classes with the intention of transferring to a four-year college. They would potentially be completing the TAG program, hopefully in that case, the Transfer Admission Guarantee. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Or it's a great opportunity for students who are not interested in attending a four-year college to take classes and earn technical certificates or certifications and join the workforce more quickly. Sometimes these programs are less than 2 years, maybe just about 2 years, a little over 2 years. So there's a lot of really awesome programs depending on which community college you're looking at. There are a lot of benefits to attending a two-year community college first, even if you are someone that thinks that you want to attend a four-year first. Maybe attending a community college could be a benefit to you. I think it's a benefit to most people, if not all. One of the big benefits of attending community college first is it's going to be a huge money saver. College is expensive. CSU campuses are going to run about $6,500 per semester. UC campuses are going to run about $14,000 per semester. And private or out-of-state schools, you're looking at about $30,000 a semester, if not more than that. So if you could spend the first 2 years at a community college where you're paying almost nothing or it's free, you could save up to $60,000, $120,000, kind of depending on what your plan was. So it can be a huge money saver. So it's definitely something to consider. If you're unsure about your major or career path, we encourage you to start at the community college level. Take time to explore classes or a major that you might be interested in without paying those really high tuition rates. So you get the flexibility to take courses at a much cheaper cost, and then you can transfer to a four-year once you've made your decision, completed those general ed requirements. It's also, as I mentioned before, a great opportunity for students who are not interested in attending a four-year campus. College is not for everybody, and that's definitely okay. There's tons of technical skills and certifications where these programs are more hands-on. And you can get into the workforce more quickly. There's programs related to pretty much anything you're interested in: healthcare, transportation, construction, energy, information technology, and a lot more. Each community college kind of has their own specialty. So not all programs are offered across all California community colleges. So that's why it's a great time during this fall semester to start looking into community colleges that you might be interested in. Another benefit of attending community college potentially first before a four-year is that transfer rates from community college to four-year are much higher, so it's less competitive to earn admission into those UC or CSU campuses that students are interested in. Of course, they also have the TAG program, which is the Transfer Admission Guarantee program. If students complete a list of general education courses, usually it takes them about 2 years, and earn a 3.0 or above, they could potentially earn guaranteed admission into one of the participating UC campuses. So lots of great opportunity at the community college level. All right, we're going to kind of shift over to start focusing more on the students who are interested in applying to four-year colleges. We asked students over the summer to start researching about 10 to 20 schools that they would be interested in. And now's the time to narrow down that list. Usually we recommend about 6 to 10 schools and that they're actually going to be applying to. So we like students to break these up into different categories. We're going to talk about them to really cast that net wide and give themselves the best opportunity to earn admission into one of these campuses. So the first category would be applying to safety schools. Usually we recommend about 2 to 3. This is going to be a campus where your student's academic profile or their GPA is stronger than the average accepted student. This is going to be campuses. Community college is a safety school for anybody. Many of the CSU campuses could be considered a safety school depending on your student's academic profile. Stanislaus is one that's coming to mind. There's also a link on this page that will show you a whole list of CSU schools that would be a great option for safety or target schools. How can students determine this information? We showed them last week how to find data in their Naviance account in order to help rank these schools as safety, target, reach, or lottery schools for them. So the next category is going to be target schools. We recommend about 3 to 4 target schools that your student should be applying for. These are going to be campuses that your student is interested in, and the academic profile or the GPA is similar or equal to the average accepted student. So for example, let's say San Jose State, their average accepted GPA, roughly a 3.9, 4.0 right now. If your student has about that same GPA, that could kind of be considered a target school for your student. Again, target schools vary depending on your student and their academic profile, so they need to use their Naviance account to look at that data to see what the average accepted student looks like and compare it to their own data. So GPA, test scores, that type of stuff. The next category is reach category. We say about 1 to 2 reach schools. These are going to be schools that your student loves, but the academic profile is maybe falling below what the typical accepted student looks like. Most UC campuses are going to be, with the exception, I would say, of UC Merced, are going to be considered a reach school for most of our students on this campus. They're highly, highly competitive, so keep that in mind. The last category is the lottery category, and we say about 1 to 2 schools, if you choose to, that are a lottery category. These are going to be similar to reach schools, but they're so selective that even the strongest academic profile does not guarantee you admission. So you're going to want to think of campuses like UCLA, at Stanford, the Ivy League campuses. Schools that have a less than 5% admission rate would be considered a lottery school. So again, the link on there, and this is going to be posted later, will take you to a list of the CSU campuses and show you which majors or which campuses are not impacted, meaning they have space. Those campuses are great options for safety or target schools. For testing requirements, UC and CSU campuses do not require the SAT or the ACT to apply. They won't even use it for admissions purposes, so there's no point in taking it. If you're only applying to UC or CSU campuses, I apologize if you can hear my dog barking in the background. Private or out-of-state schools, they may require the SAT to apply. It may be a requirement. It may be optional, meaning if your student has an SAT or ACT score they want to submit, they can. Or they could be test blind, meaning they don't use it at all. It is the student's responsibility to check for private or out-of-state school if they require the SAT or the ACT. They are offering, Mountain House is offering the SAT on October 11th, I believe it is. Mrs. White sent information out a few days ago. The last day to sign up is September 1st, so take a look at that if you are interested and need to take it. You have up until this December to take the SAT or the ACT and use it for your admissions purposes. For four-year eligibility GPA, UC campuses and CSU campuses use a specific GPA to apply. So it's not going to be the GPA that's listed on your student's transcript. There's two GPAs that are listed there, the unweighted and the weighted. Neither of those are going to be the GPA that's used for UC or CSU campuses. They have a specific GPA of college prep classes taken starting after ninth grade summer. So the summer of ninth grade, after you finish your ninth grade, through the summer after you finished 11th grade. All college prep classes taken during that time period is going to be used for the GPA calculation. We do have a link on there that will take you to the GPA calculator. And we also have a PowerPoint on the website that walks students through how to calculate their GPA. So just keep that in mind. For UC campuses, they need a 3.0 or above to apply. And for CSU campuses, they need a 2.5 or above to apply. Some campuses in the CSU system will look at students with a 2.0 to a 2.49. Sorry, there's a mistake there. It says 2.4, but 2.49. Go back to that document I was just talking about that shows the not impacted CSU campuses. Those are going to be great options for students who have the 2.0 to 2.49 GPA range. For private or out-of-state schools, the GPA varies from campus to campus that they will use. So again, it's the student's responsibility to check the college's website to determine what GPA is going to be used for the private or out-of-state school that they're applying for. Okay, so for entrance essays, CSU campuses, there's no essay requirement. They won't accept anything, so there's really nothing for them to do in regards to an entrance essay. UC campuses, they utilize the personal insight questions. So they have 8 questions to choose from, and students need to choose 4. And that's going to be 4 no matter how many UC campuses they may be applying for. All 4 responses will go to every campus that they apply for. Each response is 350 words or less. There is a link to a guide there on the personal insight questions. Counselors also just attended a seminar on some recommendations for the personal insight questions. So we'll be releasing information to students about that soon. For private or out-of-state schools, it could require a college entrance essay. So again, it's the student's responsibility for those private or out-of-state schools to check on this requirement. They need to see if an essay is required and determine what the topic is. Maybe they're utilizing the common application and doing the essays that are offered through there. So they just need to check the website and determine what the requirement is if they're applying to a private or out-of-state school. A few, I apologize, guys. Let me pause really quick so I can put my dog out, and we will get started again in just. All right, I apologize about that. The joys of doing work from home. Okay, so let's continue. A few recommendations and tips. Make sure your student is answering the prompt. That's like number one. Even if they have a specific topic in mind that they want to talk about, if it doesn't fit within the prompt, they should not be using it. Follow the word limit. Definitely don't go over. I know you students have a lot of great things to say, but admissions counselors don't want to read 500 words when they asked for 350. So make sure you're following the word limit. You also want to share information that will not be seen in your general application. So think about how you can give them additional insight into who you are as a person beyond your academics, beyond your grades, and talk about how, that, stuff that's going to go beyond what they see in the application. We do have a workshop that was given in the past about this topic. So the link there will take you to that presentation. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the different college application types. For UC and CSU campuses, they're going to have a portal style online application. So students will fill out one application online, and then they're going to select all the schools that they want the application sent to, and they will pay per campus. So if you apply for 8 campuses in the CSU system, you're going to be submitting 8 fees, and usually they run about $70-$80 per application. My UC is where they will go to create an account and submit their application if your student plans on applying to one or more UC campuses. CSU Apply will be where they go if they're going to be applying to any CSU campuses and fill out the application there. Both are linked on the screen, so again, you'll have access to them later. The Common Application or the Coalition is a portal style online, so similar to the ones we just talked about, but it's used for private or out-of-state schools. So most private or out-of-state schools will utilize either the Common Application or the Coalition. This allows students to fill out one application online and then select as many campuses that they want that application to be sent to. Again, you're paying per campus. So if you are applying to 8 private or out-of-state universities, you're going to be paying 8 fees. Not all private or out-of-state schools will utilize the Common Application or the Coalition. So in that case, you might have to apply directly to the institution. So that would be you going to the website of that university and submitting an application through their school's official website. All right, so for the decision type, and this only applies to some private or out-of-state schools. This is not for UC or CSU. If your student plans on applying to some private or out-of-state schools, they could be allowed to choose the decision type. So this really will change the due date of the college application materials. We're going to talk about all 4 of these options. There is the regular due date, which is just the standard due date that's listed on the website. A lot of them fall around December 1st, January 1st, February 1st, depending on the campus. Again, it's your student's responsibility to check and see what those due dates are. They can choose to apply for one campus early decision. An early decision shows a really strong interest in this campus. So you're telling the school, or your student is telling the school, that this is my top favorite 100% campus. But this decision is a binding decision. So it means if your student applies as early decision and is accepted into the school, they are going. And they are going to be making this decision before they hear back from any of their other campuses, before they know about their financial aid information. So I always caution students with early decision. They should be very careful when making that one. They should be 200% confident on that campus if they're going to be applying early decision, because again, it's binding. So if they get accepted, they are going. The safer options would be early action or restrictive early action. Early action, they're going to have an earlier due date for those materials. And again, it does show more interest to the campus. And you can do this for unlimited applications. So it's not a binding decision. Restrictive early action, you can only do this for one school. So again, it shows a lot of interest in the campus. But it's not a binding decision like the early decision option. So this one's a little bit more of a safer route to go. For early decision, early action, and restrictive early action, all 3 of these are going to have an earlier deadline for the application materials. So they need to warn their counselor if they're going to be applying early, so we can make sure we get the materials submitted on time. The other benefit to doing early decision, early action, or restrictive early action is that if your student does not get in during that early review, they're going to be put back into the pile with the regular decision students. They're going to be reviewed again, and potentially at that second review, they can earn admission at that time when they're being reviewed against the regular decision bunch of students. So that is a bit of a benefit by submitting your materials early. Some important deadlines. So the UC and CSU application is due on November 30th, 2023. There is no earlier deadline and no later deadline. So November 30th is the hard deadline for UC CSU applications. Counselors recommend that students finish their applications before the Thanksgiving break, which is November 17th, Friday, November 17th. And the reason we recommend this is because every year we have students come back from their Thanksgiving break stressed out with lots of questions about their application. And there is 500 seniors and only 6 counselors. So that is very limited amount of time for us to answer all questions before that due date hits. So make sure your student reviews every piece of that application and really understands it before we leave for Thanksgiving break. Our recommendation is to be finished, but if they haven't finished it, they need to at least be very familiar with all pieces and get their questions answered before leaving. For private or out-of-state applications, those due dates are going to vary. And again, it's the student's responsibility to keep track of all deadlines. The community college application, you're going to utilize spring 2024 to apply. The application opens on January 1st, and you really have that entire spring semester to apply to community college in California. That gives four-year students the opportunity to hear back from those four-year campuses, see if they are happy with those results. Maybe they don't get accepted, and then they decide to apply community college in spring 2024. That's totally fine too. FAFSA and California Dream Act, you're going to start it on October 1st, 2023, and it's going to be due March 2nd, 2024. For letters of recommendation, UC and CSU campuses do not accept letters of recommendation. So this is actually a really time-consuming process for counselors or teachers to do. So unless your student really needs a letter of recommendation for a campus they're applying for, they should not just come asking because they want to have one on file, because it is a time-consuming process for teachers and counselors. For private or out-of-state applications, they may require letters of recommendation to apply. It is the student's responsibility to check those college websites to determine if a letter of rec is needed. Schools may require more than letter of rec. So they could require up to 3. I think the most I've seen is 4 letters of recommendation. But again, they just need to check the website to determine. If a letter of recommendation is needed, there's a couple of things the student has to do. They have to fill out their senior info survey in Naviance. And again, when we gave that presentation last week, we showed students where to find that. This is basically their brag sheet. Their counselor or their teacher is going to use that to write a letter of recommendation on their behalf. So the student should put as much information as possible. It's not a time to be humble. So we can really use that information to write a strong letter of recommendation. The student must also ask the letter writer at least 3 school weeks in advance. So make sure that they're following that. It's the most respectful thing to do. Again, this is something that we're doing kind of outside of our normal job duties, and it is a time-consuming process. So we need to make sure we have enough time. If your student comes to me 2 days before a letter is due, I will do my best to get one submitted, but quite honestly, it's not going to be a very good letter because I was not given the proper time to write it. So make sure that they're giving everybody at least 3 school weeks advance notice. It's recommended that students ask people who can speak on their abilities, especially ones that they're trying to pursue in college further. For example, if your student is applying to computer science majors and they are a computer science pathway student, it's probably a good idea to ask some of their computer science teachers to write a letter of rec. For financial aid, we already talked about the FAFSA and the California Dream Act. We are going to be giving more presentations throughout the year and more opportunities throughout the year to meet with a financial aid representative and get a lot of really great information on that. For scholarship, there is a list available on Naviance. They can check that out. There is the national database, fastweb.com, linked for you there. There may be college-specific or institution-specific scholarships available that would have to be found on private or out-of-state college websites. Students will also be considered for certain scholarships by filling out the FAFSA. So again, another good reason to fill out the FAFSA. And then there's also a really awesome program called the Western Undergraduate Exchange. This is an agreement between the states in the Western Hemisphere. So California, Nevada, Washington, Arizona, and Oregon. It allows students living out of state to attend one of those colleges at a reduced cost. So, for example, as a California resident, I could potentially attend a school in Nevada and earn a scholarship all 4 years that would really reduce the cost of the out of state tuition. A lot of the times it brings it down to similar to a UC campus. It's not available at all schools within those states that I listed. Students, if they're interested in this opportunity, should research the WUE Scholarship Finder, or WUE Scholarship Finder on Google. It's the first link that pops up. They can use their search engine to determine which campuses offer this opportunity and if there's any requirements. Sometimes they'll say you need to have a 3.0 or higher when graduating from high school to be able to earn this opportunity. So again, it depends on the campus. For Naviance, this was something we showed students on Thursday and Friday last week. So hopefully your student was paying attention and looking at all those pieces, because this is a huge part of their application process. It is essential to their application. They need to add every school that they're going to be applying to the colleges I'm applying to list in Naviance. The deadline to do this is in December. So they need to make sure they get that in, because counselors are responsible for sending documents on their behalf, a transcript, a school profile, maybe a recommendation. And the way that we know how or where they're applying is by them adding those schools into the colleges I'm applying to list in Naviance. If it's not listed in there, we're not going to know that they're applying to that campus. So the campus is not going to receive the materials they need, and their application will be incomplete, so they will not be accepted. So again, this is an essential piece to their application. They need to make sure they're doing this. Senior grades are not included in the GPA used for admission for UC and CSU campuses. We do submit a mid-year report for out-of-state or private schools. However, senior grades are still important. If your student does not pass a required class with a C or better, they will have their admission rescinded at the end of the year. We've seen this happen. We've had a student that was accepted and paid tuition, and a week before school was supposed to start, they found out that their admission was rescinded. So don't let this happen to you or your student. Make sure that you're passing with your classes with C or better. Our advice is to really try and maintain your previous history. So if you are an A and B student, freshman, sophomore, junior year, try and maintain a similar GPA to what you have been doing in the past. So some resources and guides. We have our tip sheets listed on here. All of these are also listed on the Mountain House website. Throughout the year, I'll be, sending out reminders that, hey, check out this website. It's got all the information that you need. We'll send it out to you guys tomorrow too, when we send out the link to this presentation. We also have a guide on how to add those colleges into their Naviance account, how to request a letter of recommendation, the UC-CSU GPA calculation. We have a lot of previous workshops that we've given that talk about all things college. So those are great opportunities to kind of review some of this material as well. All right, so that is the end of our informational portion of the night. There is this tiny URL that will take you to a Google form in order to submit your questions. Mrs. Myers and Mrs. Salami here are going to be helping us answer questions. So go ahead, type that link into your phone, laptop, whatever you're looking at, and submit questions via that Google form. We will be on till about 7:15 answering questions. If something doesn't get answered, you are also welcome to send an email to your student's counselor to clarify anything you have questions about. So just give us 1 minute as we start to review the questions. We will get going on those shortly. Once we're going to give you a minute or two to kind of submit your questions.
Okay, so we have a question here. I'll get started. Is Naviance the only source for selecting colleges for students? How can they make their search better by using multiple sources? So Naviance is one great tool to use to search for colleges. You can search for colleges in a numerous way. I mean, just Googling will be useful, but we like to use Naviance because it does break down. It also gives them data for students from our school that got into um, that particular school. So we like to use Naviance. That way, if they like a school, it's easy for them to also add it to colleges that they're applying to, and so on and so forth. It's kind of like an all-inclusive um, tool for them to use. Okay, so the next question is um, whether counselors are able to review essays and help in calculating GPA. So yes, counselors will be able to review essays. We have several success sessions that we host throughout this semester that will help students with reviewing essays, also calculating GPA. I have several success sessions where we will do that. Also, students that have senior meetings that need help with that, we do that as well. All right, so the next question is how the GPA will be calculated for students who transferred from other countries to Mountain House in 11th grade. College eligibility letter says A through Z eligibility. Okay, so if you are coming from a different country, the counselors here at Mountain House High School are not able to determine um, the GPA for those out of country courses. There are several other sources that are able to do that, including the colleges. So um, we can provide you a list of other institutions and other companies that are able to articulate those. We unfortunately are not for out of country coursework. Sorry, my computer's acting funky. Miss Myers will also hop on and answer some of those questions. The next one is, I heard the community college tuition is not entirely free. Does it depend on parents' financial status? Where can I find more information on that? So community college, if students do the financial aid application and they don't qualify for any free federal money because parents make too much money and so they received zero free money from the federal government. In that scenario, students, for example, at Delta College will get free tuition. If they qualify for financial aid, then they will use their financial aid to go to school because that's, again, free money. So that's how that um, community college entirely free thing works.
Our next question is about how you apply for scholarships. And there's a couple of different ways. So one way would be to fill out the FAFSA, the California Dream Act. By doing that, they could be considered for some scholarships that are available through that method. It is also possible by just applying to the campus, whether it's these most likely private or out-of-state campuses, that just submitting their application, they're being put into the pool of specific scholarships available. Then there is also the option to look at the campus website to see if they have additional scholarships that they can apply for. This is separate from just the regular application to be accepted. They may have additional materials that are needed to be submitted for specific scholarships to apply for. Then you have search engines like fastweb.com. That link was in the PowerPoint. This is going to be a national scholarship base where organizations are placing their scholarship opportunities on this one website. Students can create an account and filter for different scholarships that may apply for them. So long answer is, or short answer is, there's a lot of ways to apply for scholarships.
Okay, there was a question about taking the SAT or ACT at the CSU level, but just a reminder, you do not need to take the SAT or ACT if you're going to a CSU or UC.
So our next question is senior student status letter. What should parents be looking for in those letters that were sent last week? So what we did at the counseling team, we evaluated each senior's transcript to see whether they were eligible for a 4-year college or maybe a 2-year college, trade school, that sort of thing. So in that senior status letter, it will tell you the status of your student. For example, it should say that your student is eligible to apply to a 4-year college, or your student is on track for graduation and 2-year college. So that's what you'll be looking for in that student's in that senior status letter.
Our next question is, it was stated that colleges need to be added to Naviance in the colleges I'm applying to list. Does that include community colleges? Yes, if your student is planning on applying to a community college, if they've already made up their mind, they can go in and add that community college that they plan on applying for.
Next question, TAG. The question is, if we apply for the TAG program in community college, will we still be able to apply to other universities, or do we have to commit to the one we are tagged in? Also, how much higher chance of getting into a UC? Okay, so it's much harder to get into a UC straight from a high school than it is from a community college. So the chances are much higher to get into a UC from a community college than straight from high school. With TAG, you can tag into, if you want to tag into one school but still look at other schools as options, you're welcome to apply to as many schools as you want from a community college. You're not just limited to the ones that you tagged in or that you did the tag contract for.
There's a question regarding transcripts. When it comes to transcripts, it's very important that your student has all their schools listed in Naviance. Counselors will be sending transcripts for your students. There's a few situations where we can't send transcripts electronically, and in those cases, we will notify the student that they have to order their transcript to be mailed. But as long as your student has their colleges in Naviance, we will be sending transcripts electronically for them.
There's a question about an issue on a transcript. If the issue on your student's transcript is about like Math 1 in 8th grade or something like that, those are still being worked on. You can send your counselor another email to remind them, but they are being addressed. If it's like a bigger issue, there's an actual error with like something on the transcript, not just like a class duplicated, please email your counselor so that we can get that fixed.
There's a question asking about the link for today's presentation. So tomorrow from my email, Mrs. Russo, I'm going to send out a review of this. So it'll include the link to the PowerPoint so you can access all the links that were in there. It'll be a link to this YouTube video so you can go back and watch it. And I will also link you to some of those helpful areas on the Mountain House High website in order to access all of these workshops and different things that we're talking about.
So there was a question about Cal State applications. Those will open in October. There was another question about community college, and please make sure if your student is going to a community college that they have that in Naviance as well.
Next question is about what counselors will be discussing in the senior one-on-one meetings.
And when would those meetings start? So we have already started our senior meetings. We talk to students about what schools they want to go to. We reiterate how to apply to those schools. We reiterate how to put their colleges in Naviance. We just make sure that the seniors get all of their questions answered. So we encourage seniors to come in with questions that they can ask their counselor. And then we just kind of tell them over and over again about the process, about deadlines, about due dates, essays, letters of recommendation. So basically everything that we went over today in our one-on-one, we just kind of go over it again. And then it's an opportunity for seniors to ask any questions that they need answered.
We have a question that's asking if counselors will meet with students and parents one-on-one to discuss college readiness. Yes, if you need to meet with your student's counselor, and if you would like your student to be involved in that meeting, we can meet with you. Just send an email to your student's counselor and let them know that you would like to meet with them. You can find contact information on the counseling page of the Mountain House High website.
There was a question about scholarships in Naviance. You likely won't see many scholarships in Naviance at this time. Scholarships, our local scholarships, usually get advertised in the spring. So while you certainly can check Naviance for scholarships, you'll notice there's a lot more that will populate in the spring.
There are several scholarships on fastweb.com. Students are encouraged to go on FastWeb and look for scholarships that meet their criteria or that they meet the criteria for. I've put the link on the screen for you to check it out.
December 3rd, there was a question about the last date to add colleges in Naviance, and the last date would be December 3rd.
There's a question of how does ELC work with UC admissions. I don't know what ELC is, so if you can clarify what that is. Another question regarding transcripts. If a student has done some courses from Delta College and want to send along with Mountain House High, do we upload to Naviance? No. If your student took classes at Delta College that met the timeline requirements that we have that need to be articulated, they would need to send an official transcript to their counselor, preferably by email. The official transcript should come directly from Delta College to their Mountain House counselor.
Regarding the ELC question, so I'm not super familiar with it. I don't even remember what it stands for, but this is a program where if your student is performing within the top 9% of their campus, they can earn a higher possibility of being accepted into campuses within the UC system. Again, I am not super familiar with it. So the best person to talk to about ELC or any questions regarding applying to college is those admissions counselors. They are there for parents and students to utilize. We encourage students to reach out to admissions counselors directly when they have questions about the application process or about the school as a whole, because they are the expert on their campus and their application process. We at Mountain House know a lot of information, but we're by no means the experts. So we definitely encourage reaching out to admissions counselors. They are there to support you. They will even meet with you one-on-one if needed.
ELC is like a guaranteed admission to a UC, but it's not necessarily the UC of your choice. It's usually the UC that has space, which often, would be like a UC Merced. So that could help with hopefully that question. There was another question about counselors writing letters of recommendation. And counselors can definitely write letters of recommendation, but just like a teacher, please give us 3 weeks. And please make sure you ask us in person.
There's a question about the college admission deadline being November 30th. How come Naviance is the deadline is December 4th? Not all of our students are applying to UCs and CSUs. And the deadline is December 4th. That way students have the time to submit their applications, see which ones they're actually going to submit applications to. Once they've submitted them, then they can update their colleges I'm applying to list for a final round. And then we send documents starting as soon as students are filling it out. So just because the application goes in November 30th doesn't mean that we don't have a little bit more time to send that information for each student. And each school has like a different deadline for applications.
Just an update, I did close the question form. We have a few questions left that we're going to answer, and then we will be ending our time today.
There's a question, would you be able to provide the acceptance rate for some specific schools from Mountain House High School if a parent-student requests? We can do our best to provide acceptance rate based upon the data that we have collected from previous years. Sure, if you want to send your counselor an email, we can definitely check that out for you.
We actually also went over this information with all students during our presentations. We showed them how to access this type of information using scattergrams and Naviance. So all students do have access, and we're shown how to utilize that tool.
In addition, parents can access Naviance as well. If you would like to access Naviance, you just need to email your student's counselor. Again, that information can be found on the counseling page of the Mountain House website. And you can be sent a link to register with a parent version of the Naviance account. Our last question is, what kind of help a counselor can provide if a student is interested in playing sports and trying to earn a scholarship? They're asking what kind of support other than just the eligibility info. Honestly, when students are trying to be NCAA eligible, a lot of the responsibility is going to fall on them. The counselor is going to be there to make sure that they're signing up for the correct classes and that they're staying on track for A through G and NCAA eligibility. But as far as marketing themselves, that's going to fall on the student. We do have a student athlete to-do list, and it's a full page of recommendations from our counseling department on what you should be doing in order to be noticed by schools. The other person that your student should be talking to is their coach that they're working with, to see if their coach has any connections to any colleges or athletic directors within colleges. So if your student is interested in being NCAA eligible and playing college athletics, have them email their counselor. Hopefully we've had a meeting with them about this before, but if not, we can talk with them about it, or we can send them that student athlete to-do list that has all of those recommendations to get noticed by colleges. All right, so that was our final question of the night. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We apologize for the confusion in the beginning with the wrong link and the dog barking on my end. So thank you for hanging in there with us. We will send out this information tomorrow. It looks like Ms. Islami posted the link to the PowerPoint presentation in the chat, so you can access it there. But again, I will send it directly to your email, including other links tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us. That concludes tonight's presentation.